Om Maganatimandasha, Ganangana Saraka, Chaksurun Minitam, Yanatajmai Swigadave Namaha, Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam, Stapitam Yanabutare, Swayam Rupa Karamyam, Dadati Sa Parantikam. Our topic today is inviting God or Krishna into your difficulties. Most of the time, we're praying, God, get me out of this difficulty. Get me out of this pandemic. Get me out of these financial troubles. Lord, get me out of this trouble at work. Nothing wrong with that. But before you get out, you have to invite God or Krishna in. Sometimes a miracle is not in getting out. It's what Krishna or God's going to do in the situation. So instead of praying, Krishna, get me out, Krishna, come into this hospital room while I'm taking the treatment. Come into this trouble at work where the people aren't fair. Come into this anxiety and depression that I'm dealing with. What's more powerful than Krishna bringing you out is when Krishna comes in and begins to change things. Comes in and gives you favor despite who's trying to push you down. Comes in, gives you strength that you can't explain. Comes in and gives you grace to outlast what should have stopped you. If you're only focused on Krishna bringing you out, then you're going to be disappointed. Why is that? Krishna doesn't do things on our timetable. Sometimes when it's taking longer than we thought, and we ask Krishna to come in, then it doesn't matter how long it takes because we've got the Almighty Lord helping us through that trouble right alongside of us. Krishna, I know that no matter what it is I'm facing, you're here with me. You're ordering my steps, and at the right time, you're going to get me to where I'm supposed to be. In this mood, in this attitude, with this consciousness, you don't have to fight everything. You don't have to live upset, not being able to sleep at night. That only happens when you're focused on getting out. But Krishna is waiting to come in. When you ask him, you're saying, Krishna, don't just change the circumstances, change me. Help me not just to go through this situation, but help me to grow through this situation. Help me to learn. Help me to increase my faith, to let my character come up higher. I think you'll agree with me that if Krishna or God delivered us from everything instantly, we'd never reach our highest potential. Krishna works in the trouble. He works in the uncomfortable situations. Sometimes he's not bringing you out just yet because he wants the odds actually against you to increase so that when he does bring you out, it will be even more amazing, even more of a miracle. Now, voices in the meantime will whisper. Krishna doesn't even hear your prayers. Why do you think he cares about you? Nothing's changed in the longest time. The reason is that Krishna is setting you up. He's setting you up to show out in your life. And when he brings you out, it'll be so unusual, so unprecedented that no one will be able to deny that his favor is upon you. The Lord says, when you go through the waters, I will be with you. When you go through the rivers, they will not drown you. When you walk through the fire, you'll not be burned. An interesting story about a Chinese man. His first name was Lo. And when he became a convert to Christianity, he read the Bible. He was always getting excited because he would read his name. Lo, I am with you always. Lo, though you be put in the fire, I will keep you from being burned. Lo, I am a companion in all of your troubles. And he thought the message was speaking to him personally. And you know what? He was right. It's interesting. Krishna didn't say, Lo, I'll keep you out of every fire. Lo, you won't have to face any floods. No, he said, Lo, the challenges will come. Lo, there will be adversity. And lo, there will be things we don't understand. But lo, the whole key is that I will be with you in the fire, in the flood. Lo, I'll be with you in the famine. So our question to you tonight is, are you now at this point in your life trying to get out of something that Krishna wants to take you through? That means you're fighting the process. It's not fair, Krishna, I can't take it every morning. Maybe everything will change if you start inviting Krishna or God into your life. He's already made that promise that he'll be with you. Maybe he's just waiting for your invitation. Our attitude should be, Krishna, I know that you're going to bring me out. But in the meantime, until these troubles are over, I'm asking you to come into this challenge in my health, to come into this loss I'm going through, come into this depression that's trying to stop me. And when you invite God into the difficulty, then you'll feel something supernatural. You'll feel him breathing in your direction, empowering you, enabling you, favoring you. Is it a greater testimony, let me ask you, that he kept you out of the fire? Or is it a greater testimony that he came with you into the fire and brought you through it? What do you think? And when you know God is with you, when you've invited him into your situation, you're going to distinguish yourself from others because you're going to have a smile on your face, even in the middle of the difficulty. You're not going to be complaining, but you're going to have a song of praise on your lips. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You won't be worried when it doesn't look good. You'll be at peace right in the middle of the storm. You won't live afraid, knowing that God is in your valleys, walking right beside you. True, I can't enjoy my life. I have this child that's off course. I'm dealing with an addiction and illness. My finances are low. When it turns around, then I'll have a good attitude. The problem is you're waiting for Krishna to bring you out. Well, Krishna is waiting for you to invite him in. And when he comes into that dark, shadowy valley with you, you're not going to be afraid anymore. You're not going to be worried. Even though you don't see a way, you know that God is with you, and he can find a way where you don't see a way. If you'll just start saying, Krishna, come in. Let me feel your presence in the fire. Show me your greatness in this trouble. Then you'll have a peace that passeth understanding, a joy when you should be discouraged, a hope when you should be hopeless. Half a century ago or more, there was a singing evangelist named Luther Bridgers. His home was in the village of Wilmore, Kentucky. He was away from home most of the time doing his evangelic work where he was needed. Returning from one of his trips, Luther Bridges discovered that his family home had been destroyed by fire, and in that fire, his wife and 4 children had died. In a Wilmore cemetery stands a gravestone which marks the common burial place of those 5 people that were most dear to him. But out of that tragic loss, and as a result of the faith that sustained him through it, Luther Bridges wrote one of the best of all gospel songs. It's entitled, He Keeps Me Singing. The story is that he sat on the stone doorstep of what once had been his and his family's home, and he wrote both the words and the music to this moving song. There's within my heart a melody, my Lord whispers sweet and low. Fear not, I am with thee. Peace be still in all of life's ebb and flow. All my life was wrecked by sin and strife. Discord filled my heart with pain. God swept across the broken strings and stirred the slumbering chords again. Though sometimes he leads me through fiery flames, trials fall across the way. Though sometimes the path seems rough and steep, I see his footprints all the way. Can I tell you, people don't determine your destiny. Bad breaks cannot stop Krishna's plan for your life. Sickness, loss of loved ones, addictions, unfair situations do not have the final say. No, don't be discouraged because Krishna didn't keep you out of the fire. Krishna doesn't stop every negative situation. Rather, he uses adversity to move us into our purpose. We would never know his power if we were never thrown into a fire, so to speak. You wouldn't know he was a healer unless you had an illness. You wouldn't know he could move mountains if we never faced big obstacles. Now, quit complaining about what you're up against. It's not a surprise to Krishna. The enemy may have turned the fire up 7 times hotter than normal. They didn't do that without Krishna's permission. Krishna is in control, not just of your life, but he's also in control of what your enemies do. So instead of complaining about the fire, start inviting him into the fire. When he's with you, you cannot be burned. You cannot be defeated. Why? Because you and Krishna are a majority, He's a supernatural God. He's not limited by the fire, by flood, by famines, by pestilence. What should have taken you out did not stop your destiny. Now, I suggest that instead of complaining about everything that you don't like, recognize that Krishna, God, allowed the difficulty because he had a purpose for it. What is that purpose? So that you don't have to live miserable, worried, and afraid. His purpose is to show his glory, to shine his light through you, so that other people can see his power and his favor on your life. Without great tests, you can't have a great testimony. Without big battles, you won't see big victories. When you can say, God, this is what I'm believing for, this is what I'm hoping will happen, but Krishna, even if it doesn't work out my way, I'm still going to give you praise. I'm still going to go on being good to others. I'm still going to show up every Sunday and praise you. I'm still going to pursue my dreams. That's the attitude that gets God's attention. You're saying, Krishna, not my will, but your will be done. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But too often we're putting conditions on Krishna. And we're putting conditions in our prayers. Krishna, I'll be happy if my boss moves to the backside of Mars. When you get him out of my life, then I'll have a good attitude. But have you ever thought Krishna may be using that person to do a work in you, to grow you up, to develop your character, to teach you to love those that are not very lovable? Instead of praying, Krishna, get me out of this situation, I'm asking you today to start praying, Krishna, come into this situation. Help me to have a good attitude. Help me to do the right thing when the wrong thing has happened. It's very powerful when you can say, Krishna, even if my boss never moves, even if he's here till his false teeth fall out, I know that you've given me the strength to overcome, given me the power to be happy in the middle of this difficulty. I'm not going to let this person, this sickness, this injustice steal my joy. What's happening now? You're growing up. You're coming up higher. Sometimes Krishna is waiting for us to pass the test before he brings us out. God is on watch 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 10 centuries a millennium. The reason why you should be able to go to sleep at night is because he doesn't. Back in the days of World War II, when the Germans were bombing London every night, one night there was a particularly devastating run. Citizens began to search afterwards among the ruins for the dead and the dying and the missing. There was a pious old grandmother that they couldn't find. They looked everywhere for her. Someone finally found her asleep, snoring peacefully in her little bedroom. They came in and said, how on earth could you sleep with all that bombing going on? She said, well, in the scripture it says, he who is in the hearts of his devotees shall neither slumber nor sleep. So I figured there was no need for both of us to stay up all night. And I went to bed. That little lady knew that the Lord was her protector. That bombing should have gotten you. That illness should have been the end. That medical report said you were done, but God came in there, and here you are still going strong. That loved one you lost, or that person that walked away, broke your heart, that should have soured your life. But look at you, still moving forward, still doing great things, still fulfilling your purpose. Now, how could that be? Krishna came into the fire with you. He said, God is most present in times of trouble. He's always with us. And when we're in difficulties, it's imperative we invite him in. When that happens, you're going to be more aware than ever that you're not doing this journey of life on your own. When you get thrown into the fire, so to speak, and we all do, you're not going to get bitter. You're going to stay in faith, knowing that the Lord is right there with you. The God who controls the fire, who controls the flooding, who restores, who pays you back for injustice is right there, watching over you, protecting you, ordering your steps. Maybe you're facing some challenge. We all do. Maybe life hasn't turned out the way you thought. You've asked Krishna to keep you out of the fire, but it didn't happen your way. Now you're wondering how you're going to beat illness, how your family is going to be restored. Krishna's saying to you tonight, just invite me in. I'm going with you. You're not in that fire by yourself. I have you in the palm of my hand. I'm fighting your battles. That obstacle, granted, it may be too much for you, but it's not too much for me. Right now, Krishna is pushing back the forces of darkness for his devotees, keeping the fire from burning you. He's not letting those waters drown you. He's your protector, your deliverer, your waymaker, your healer, and your provider. You don't have to do life on your own. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to know all the details. You just have to walk by faith and not by sight. You have to know that he's right there with you, that he promised everything is going to be all right. I heard about a fellow, he's talking to a football star. He said, how are you and your girlfriend doing? The football star glumly replied, just terrible. She told me last night that she was going to be faithful to the end. A friend said, what's wrong with that? I'm the quarterback. Well, I want to tell you that God will not only be faithful to the end, but he'll also be faithful to the quarterback. When you feel that you are at the end of your rope, and you've come to a dead end in your journey, when you feel like the enemy is going to win, whether that enemy be disease or disappointment or discouragement, you just remember who your God is and what your God can do. There was a Christian in Africa by the name of Frederick Nolan. He was being pursued by some other people of another religion because of his take on the gospel. He was running from his enemies. They pursued him over hill and valley. Couldn't find any place to hide. Soon he fell exhausted into a cave, expecting his enemies to find him at any moment. Laying there, awaiting certain death, he saw a spider weaving a web. And within minutes, that little spider had woven a beautiful web across the mouth of the cave. The pursuers arrived and wondered if Nolan was hiding there, but when they saw the unbroken and unmangled spider's web, they thought it would have been impossible for him to enter the cave without dismantling that web. And they went on. And when you're in the fire, then more than ever, you need to start saying, Father, thank you that you are in this fire, in this cave with me. Thank you that no weapon formed against me is going to prosper. Krishna, I'm not going to worry. I trust you. I believe that you promise. I believe that everything will be fine for me. Can I tell you that how you approach your difficulties makes all the difference. Whether you're going to come through them, not burned, without even the smell of smoke on your clothes, or whether you're going to get stuck and singed by them, embittered, and miss Krishna's best, that's a choice that we all have to make. And we may be in the fire right now, but the key is not to complain. Neither is it to pray, Krishna, get me out. I heard about a woman, she was left a widow at a very young age. She was grieving not only at the loss of the man that she loved, but she was also awed and overwhelmed by the responsibility of raising two small girls alone. She was frightened for herself, and she was afraid she would have to give the children up. One day, this despair was so overwhelming that she walked 3 blocks to the closest church. The door was unlocked. She slipped inside and sat in the back pew. As the sunlight streamed through the stained glass window, she cried out her fears to God. How was she to raise 2 girls alone? There were no daycare centers in those days, and she wondered what would happen to the girls if she took a job. And she sat in the church that day. She heard no voice from the heavens, no miracle happened, no light streamed in from a cloud. But for some reason, her fears were relieved. As she sat there, an idea began to form in her mind. She would support her family by giving piano lessons at home. So by giving piano lessons to as many as 80 children a week, 2 of them were her own children, and by carefully managing her money, she raised her 2 children and sent them to college. She died a few years ago at the age of 94. About 30 minutes after her last piano lesson of the day, a sudden heart attack claimed her life. Now, she was an ordinary lady, just like all of us, who made an extraordinary discovery. She discovered a comfort, a peace, a strength when she cried out to God from the darkness of her soul. That's passing the test. That's showing Krishna, you're not just going to be happy if he brings you out, but you're going to shine even if it doesn't happen your way. You're going to be your best, even if it's not changing on your timetable. That's inviting God into the fire. Not just, Krishna, get me out, but Krishna, give me the strength to be here with a good attitude. Krishna knows how to vindicate you. He knows how to bring you out of the difficulty. The question is, are you inviting him into the difficulty? Or are you complaining, all discouraged? It's not fair. No, we're suggesting a different approach. God, come into the fire. Help me to do the right thing. Change me where I need to change. Burn off things that are holding me back. You have to learn to shine where you are. Have a song of praise when you could be complaining. Keep a smile in your face when you should be discouraged. And sometimes it's not easy, but keep reminding yourself. The creator of the universe, the most high God, is right here with you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He knows what you're up against. He knows what's not fair, the hurts, the disappointments. He knows the lonely nights. But when you dig your heels in and do the right thing, you're going to feel a supernatural strength, the power to do what you could not do on your own. This is Prahlad Maharaj. He was a 5-year-old devotee of Krishna. He always chanted the holy names of the Lord. His father was an atheist who deeply resented the fact that his son was a devotee of the Lord. But that father tried to kill his son, administered him poison, put him in a pit of cobras, threw him off of a cliff. Imagine. And yet, no matter what the father tried to do, he was unable to kill his 5-year-old son. Finally, the father became upset, frustrated, enraged. He said, "Where do you get your power from? Your strength, even as a 5-year-old boy, seems to be greater than mine. You haven't feared any of my punishments. You have not suffered any injuries in spite of my greatest efforts. Where is the source of your power?" And Prahlad Maharaj said, "Kevalam me bhagavatascha savaya balam balam chape sharam pare vare ishtira yangana brahmadyo yena bashampanita." Prahlad said, "Dad, the source of my power is the same as the source of your power. In fact, nobody gets power from any other source than the Supreme Personality of God. Whether they're moving or non-moving, superior, inferior, everyone, including even Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, is controlled by the strength of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. Now, when you invite that Lord into the fire, you are going to have a favor that pushes you up when life pushes you down, a strength to excel when you could be slacking off, a power to overcome what should stop you. Right now, you may be in a situation that you don't think is ever going to change. But what God started in your life, he's going to finish. So instead of just praying, "God, get me out," being frustrated because it's taking longer than you thought, why don't you start inviting Krishna in? Lord, thank you that you are with me in this battle with cancer, that you are with me in this struggle against this addiction, that you are with me in this divorce, in this breakup. And when you invite Krishna in, you'll feel his presence in a new way. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. When the circumstances look bad, the medical report is not good, your loved one is off course, it's easy to live worried and upset, but can I encourage you this evening? The Most High God controls every atom. He's within your heart and the heart of your enemy. He's the source of your strength. He's the source of your enemy's strength. Fires cannot stop you. Sickness cannot stop you. Injustice cannot stop you. People cannot keep you from your destiny. Why don't you just relax? Everything's going to be fine. Sure, the flames may be high, but you have a big advantage. The God who controls millions of universes is right there in the region of your heart. Now, do your part. Start thanking him that he's fighting your battles. Start shining where you are. Start being your best in spite of the difficulties. Don't wait until it changes. You have to invite him in so that in the midst of the fire, by using the fire to refine you, he can make you and mold you into the person of excellence he wants you to be in this life. And next life, he'll take you back to home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.